So, friends, in the previous lecture, we were trying to understand the institution of a state. What is a state? A state is an institution that has monopoly on use of violence. Actually, use of power. In general, we can say power. And state, according to this Oxford dictionary, is not one institution, it is a set of institutions. And in these sets of institutions, they include elected representatives, bureaucracy, judiciary, and armed forces. So, whenever you say something about Indian state, remember that you are referring to these four organs of state or to these four different sets of institutions. I thought that when I am talking of state, I would like to read something from Indian Constitution. You need not note it down as such, you just can note down certain points. When the objective resolution of Pandit Nehru in the Constituent Assembly was approved, that was on January 22nd, 1947, much before the independence of the country. The country was going to be independent, so the feeling, and our statesmen were debating on what kind of state we want to develop. I am reading a long paragraph from a book of political science or introduction to the Constitution of India. It says, the Constituent Assembly declares its firm and solemn resolve to proclaim India as an independent, sovereign republic and to draw up for her future governance a constitution. Not every state has a written constitution. There are different traditions, and like in ancient society or primitive society, P. Gisbert's book Sociology will give you more idea of the nature of a state in primitive society, in feudal society. Even some modern states do not have a written constitution. But in Pandit Nehru resolved that we will have a constitution, a written constitution. To ensure what? Wherein the territories that now comprise British India, the territories that now form the Indian states, at that time the whole of India was not under the crown. There were British Indian states, there were Indian states, and such other parts of India as are outside British India and the states as well as such other territories as are willing to be constituted into the independent sovereign India shall be a union of them all. So, first a territory was to be defined. What is Indian state? In territory, different kinds of territories were included. There were some independent states. There were states which comprised British India, and there were areas outside both Indian states, Desi Riyasats, and also outside British India. And those states at the border or inside what they had in mind, the Indian territory, if they want to join Indian Union, which will be independent, sovereign India, a union of all the states, they were also free to join. For example, Kashmir was an independent state, Sikkim was an independent state, Bhutan was an independent state. If they wanted, they could join Indian state. Then, wherein the said territories, whether their present boundaries or with such others as may be determined by the Constituent Assembly and thereafter according to the law of the Constitution, shall possess and retain the status of autonomous units together with residuary powers and exercise all powers and functions of government and administration, save and accept such powers and functions as are vested in or assigned to the Union. It is a very technical job. To frame a constitution, you have to be very, very technical. Perhaps law is much more technical and much more difficult than mathematics, because mathematics is just an abstract language. In law, you have to develop a technical language to suit the requirements of a complex reality, or as are inherent or implied in the union or resulting therefore, and wherein all power and authority of the sovereign independent India, its constituent parts and organs of governments are derived from the people. It will be a government of the people. Government of the people. The Constitution, the government, the state, the Indian Union will derive their power from the people of India. It will be a government of the people. You know, Abraham Lincoln's famous statement, government of the people, by the people, for the people. It will be a government of the people. It will not be a government of monarchs, feudal lords, or army chiefs. It will be a government of the people. This is what was planned, that in India we will have a government of the people. It will not be a government of Sonia Gandhi or Mayawati or Mulayam Singh. It will be a government of the people. You know, people may represent their people may select their leaders, and through leaders they may articulate their political views. That is a different thing, but it will not be a government of any family, any monarch, any rulers, any bureaucrats, or any other powerful group. It will be a government of the people. You can also see to what extent the expectations of our constitution makers, leaders of Constituent Assembly have met, wherein shall be guaranteed and secured to all the people of India what? Justice. There will be a government of the people, and it will ensure to all Indians justice, social, economic, and political. Justice. The independent sovereign India will have justice. Justice to people. What kind of justice? Social, economic, and political. Equality of status. Of opportunity. Equality of both. Equality of status as well as equality of opportunity, and before the law. And before the law. Freedom of thought, freedom of thought, various types of freedoms. Freedom of thought is one, expression, belief, faith, worship, vocation, association, and action. Subject to law and public morality. Subject to law and public morality. And wherein adequate safeguards shall be provided for minorities, backward and tribal areas, and depressed and other backward classes. Adequate safeguards for whom? For minorities, backward and tribal areas. Now, because there is a comma after minorities and then backward and tribal areas, it is not clear whether here the term backward means, or here the term minorities means religious minorities or areas where the minorities are found more, or those small areas where the benefits of development, the fruits of development have not reached, and depressed and other backward classes. Wherein shall be maintained the integrity of the territory of the Republic and its sovereign rights on land, sea, and air according to justice and the law of civilized nations. And lastly, the ancient land attain its rightful and honored place in the world and make its full and willing contribution to the promotion of world peace and welfare of mankind. Now, this is what Jawaharlal Nehru thought about expectations from Indian state once an Indian state is formed. You can see to what extent these expectations have met. But in the context of what our sociologists are writing, to ensure all this, you see, it's a very difficult task to organize a state. Is a very difficult task. It's a very complex process. There are negative functions, there are positive functions. This resolution, I think, is more about positive functions, that this is what we will do. In independent India, it will be a government of the people. They are not writing that we will provide food, we will provide security from onslaught from other countries, China, or if there is a Pakistan, at that time there was no Pakistan, if there is a Pakistan, from Afghanistan. They are not writing that they will ensure negotiated settlements between people. They are writing something more, that more is positive. So, most of these things are positive functions of a state. Negative functions, to use Gisbert's terminology, is bare minimum, what a state is expected to do: food, shelter, clothes, defense, law and order, minimum. But positive is more than that. What is that more than that? What was the dream of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in independent India? That it will be a government of the people. It will not be the government of Maharajas of different states or big landlords or some violent leaders, powerful armed groups. It will be a government of the people. And this will be a government for the people. It will work for promotion of interest of Indian people. Whether it is by the people or not, that is debatable. Some theories, some sociologists say that government can at most be government of the people and for the people, welfare state for the people, good of society, but it can never be government by the people, because all the people, you can't imagine that all the people of India, more than 120 millions will run the country. The country will always be run by a small representatives of so many people. 1.20 billion people together cannot take any decision. Decisions will always be taken by a small group of people which will represent them. This small group of people may truly represent them, or this small group of people may turn out to be more self-seeking type. That is a different story. But 1.20 billion people cannot run the government. So, we also make a difference between state, government and regime. State is the institution. The term state in sociology is used for the institution that has monopoly on violence, or its set of institutions like judiciary, elected representative, armed forces and bureaucrats. Government refers to the persons, people, persons who have the power to act in accordance with certain norms, certain laws, constitutions, power. People who actually run the government, like Kapil Sibal is part of the government of India. Kapil Sibal is one person who had the responsibility of making new laws, new rules, according to which 10+2 qualified candidates must be tested for admission to IITs and NITs. Kapil Sibal is part of government. As far as the state is concerned, we are all part of the state. The state is an institution and we are all part of the state, but we are not part of the government. You are not part of the government. You are part of Indian state, but you are not part of government. And regime refers to principles or nature or features of the rules, regulations, laws, acts in terms of which a state functions. Authoritarian, democratic. So, these ideas behind the constitution making in India are actually the ideas which are telling us what kind of regime it will be. It will be government of the people, it will ensure justice. What kind of justice? Social justice. So, friends, justice. Now, justice is social, economic and political. For hundreds of years, if not for eternity, Indian society was divided into different social classes. There was hierarchy, inequality, prejudices, discrimination, exploitation and all that. Sociologists say DEO, discrimination or domination, exploitation and oppression. For hundreds of years in Indian society, there was domination, exploitation and oppression. Now, the Indian state that is going to emerge after 15th August 1947 will have social justice. So, no group, no community in Indian society will be seen as high or low and will have a just treatment. Economic justice. In a feudal system or in a state system, there is injustice. Injustice against whom? Injustice against the tenants and agricultural laborers. Who is perpetuating injustice? The landlords. There is injustice. In social terms, there was injustice. Brahmins were superior, Thakurs were superior, Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas were seen at the top or Brahmins were seen at the top. Sometimes they fought with each other. Vaishyas were in between kind of, and Shudras were at the bottom. Treatment of Shudras in society was not good. We are going to develop a new state in which treatment of all social classes will be just. Nobody will be high or low. Economic justice implies that nobody will economically exploit. The term exploitation goes with economic. Exploitation is economic, discrimination is social. There will be no discrimination, no exploitation. So, those who will cultivate the land, they will have the fruits of the land. Agricultural produce will belong not to landlords, but to those who will work for producing food. And political, there will be no powerful or powerless, there will be no oppression, nobody will use violence against other sections of society. So, justice in three forms. Unless you have political justice, if political interests of certain areas, tribal areas, remote areas, backward areas, minority areas are not ensured, there cannot be full economic justice. If there is no representation of the Northeast in governance of India, then the benefit of economic development and industrialization, urbanization will also not go to the people of the Northeast. If there is no political representation of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh or tribal areas of Madhya Pradesh, if they do not have articulate or vocal leaders, there will be no social or economic justice either. So, we will have justice which is social, economic and political. This is a positive function. This is not a negative function. This is a positive function. We want to take Indian society or Indian state in this direction in which social, economic and political rights of all the people of India are met. Then equality of status, all are equal before the law, all are equal. In Indian society, all are equal. And this equality of status, nowadays there is a debate on equality of outcome and equality of opportunities. Nobody questions the idea of equality. In his research on education, Mr. Yadav is struggling with this issue of equality. What is equality? I think if I ask you whether we should be a society of equals or unequals, all of you will say that we should be a society of equals. But what does equality mean? Is equality equality of outcome or equality of opportunity or promotion of both and creating a condition in which ultimately we have equality of outcome as well as opportunity? Outcome means, like in different states of India, means in different regions, in administration and also at the central level and in armed forces. State means everything, armed forces, judiciary. If in the armed forces at one time, majority of the soldiers and officers belong to 2 or 3 communities. Mostly at the time of independence, we had a large number of Muslims who anyway went to Pakistan. Muslim officers and Muslim soldiers, they chose to go to Pakistan. Among non-Muslims, there was predominance of Sikhs and Jats. So there is no equality. India is such a big country. Why should in armed forces is part of a state, why should in armed forces only Sikhs and Jats should dominate? Equality means that all the sections of India, South Indians, North Indians, Ijhawas, Brahmins, Muslims, those who decided to stay in India, Lodhis, Kurmis, Koris, Chamars, Bhangis, everyone should be equally represented in the Indian state. That will be the equality of outcome. We want to ensure a condition in which all castes and communities of India and all regions of India are equally represented. That is equality of outcome. That was the dream. To what extent that dream has come true or not, that is a different thing. But the dream was that we will have equality, and somewhere in the equality, the idea was that a time will come gradually, may not immediately, not in 10 years time, that a time must come when all thousands, more than 4,000, 5,000 castes and communities of India, there is not one caste or community. It is not only backward class. If you have ensured a system in which upper classes or general classes and backward classes and scheduled castes, they are all proportionately represented, even then grievances remain. Yadavs may say that as compared to Kurmis, they are not represented. Both of them are part of, say, OBC, but they may say that Kurmis are overrepresented. Or in Rajasthan, that problem of Gujars. Gujars are backward. Gujars have grievances against Jats. Jats have grievances against Vaishyas. Vaishyas have grievances against others, or they have grievances against Jats. Equality of outcome means that finally, in all good things or in all apparatuses of state, in armed forces, in judiciary, in bureaucracy, in everything, all castes and communities are equally represented. That is equality of outcome. You have a question? Working, it's working.
Sir, we can create conditions for equal opportunity, but how can we ensure that those conditions will ensure equal outcome? Because men are inherently different from each other, and it can never be ensured that they'll react similarly to same conditions. Two different castes would react differently to the opportunity in armed forces and anything.
You see, for achieving equality of outcome, maybe we begin with equality of opportunity. You give equal chances to everyone. Equality of opportunities is something which is not disputed by anybody today. Nobody says that you do not open schools in Chhattisgarh. Nobody says that you should not give education to Brahmins. Nobody says that one region or one community or one class of people be debarred from certain opportunities. But the problem is that equality of opportunities does not result in equality of outcome, not in the short run at least. And equality of opportunity may again lead to vested interest. Equality of opportunity itself has not created equality of outcome anywhere. In socialist Russia also they face this problem, that you have equality of opportunity. Children of professors, children of bureaucrats, children of industry managers, agricultural workers, construction workers, casual laborers are all going to the same school. That is equality of opportunity. But this equality of opportunity does not result in equality, because at family level, cultural level, community level, children of say professors, intellectuals, experts, managers will have certain advantages which children belonging to laboring communities do not have. So, suppose homework is given, then in the family of educated people where both mother and father, both the parents are educated, it is easy for a child to complete his or her homework and correctly. In the family of those parents where both father and mother are illiterate, there is no one to help the children. So, this equality of opportunity does not automatically ensure equality of outcome. So, something from time to time needs to be done to create equality of outcome also. That is a positive function of the state. If you just confine yourself to equality of opportunity to males and females, we have equality of opportunity of males and females, but where equality of outcome is not practiced, in various institutions of society you still have a very few number of females, very few number of women judges, number of women, it is still debated what kind of positions in armed forces, in air force, in infantry, in navy can be given to women. In bureaucrats, how many women secretaries you have, women engineers, women in medical practices, number of women is increasing, but what about other things? But if you want to create equality of outcome, you say that 30% seats in engineering institutions are reserved for women, and you find that next year 30% or more women are there. You know, it's not that women are incapable. Equality of opportunity, because you have created equality of opportunity. Both males and females can go to schools, but the family in which females and males are socialized creates such values in the minds of females and males that females may not be motivated at all, or their parents may not give them so much of freedom, so much of motivation, and may not like to spend so much of money on education of girls as on education of boys. There are, if you go to society, you will find ample instances in which in a middle class family, if they have one son and one daughter, then son is going to Delhi public school and the daughter is going to another ordinary school of the neighborhood. Sons are playing with guns and computers and daughters are playing with dolls. When they celebrate their birthdays from the beginning, then girls are gifted dolls, some ornaments, clothes, decoration items, beauty items, as things related, because women are associated with family, aesthetic, beauty, reproduction, homemaking. So, right from the beginning their psychology is that. But the moment if we depended only on equality of opportunity, the number of girls in engineering and medical colleges in UP would still be very small. But because we said, nahin, there is 30% reservation for girls. So, today you find that suddenly in all the engineering colleges of the state, which are good, number of women is almost equal to number of men. This is what equality of outcome means. Sometimes a dose of equality of outcome is necessary. And the state must watch from time to time what is happening. And it's not very simple. It's not that you say that 15% is reserved for scheduled caste. It's not that simple, because scheduled caste is not a caste. It's a list of castes which is prepared by President of India. What if in that list only one particular caste, say Chamars, get all the positions, and all other hundreds of castes which are also classified as scheduled caste do not get anything? So, state has to keep a watch on this. In South India now, a big issue of more backward, less backward has emerged, not only in the backward classes, but also in scheduled castes. In Bihar, already they have implemented quotas for more backward, less backward. So, it's a complicated exercise, but in principle, we have to work at both the levels. We have to create equality of opportunity, and we have to work at the level of creating equality of outcome also. In defense forces, so in defense forces now, after 60 years of or more than 60 years of independence, today you find that the proportion of Sikhs and Jats is decreasing, and proportion of other communities and regions which were not earlier represented in armed forces is increasing. This is what, and this has been ensured not directly but indirectly by using the principle of equality of outcome. There are written norms which favor regions and communities not adequately represented in the defense forces. So, that is equality of outcome. And before the law everybody should be same. Then freedom of thought, what you think, you are free to think what you think. Freedom, complete freedom of thinking. State should not force you to become a communist. State should not force you to become a Sanatan Dharmi. State should not force you to take even side of Indian state always. You must be a critical thinker. So, in our country, you must have learned that an independent team of journalists and activists had gone to study situation in Kashmir, and the findings of that team are not in conformity with the collective consciousness of India, and not in conformity with the thinking of state of India, but still what they are saying, importance of that has to be recognized, freedom of thought. It is only, actually by giving freedom of thought to its people, state becomes more effective. State can reflect on itself, can have retrospection, can learn from others ideas, experience, expression. In expression you are free. You can think and you can express yourself freely. In Mao's time in China, there was no freedom of thought, there was no freedom of expression. In socialist Russia, in Vietnam, in Cuba, and in the heyday of socialism in Poland, in Yugoslavia, there was no freedom of thought and freedom of expression. In India, we will have a freedom of thought and expression and belief, whatever belief systems you subscribe to. Faith, freedom of faith. Nobody will say that this faith is better, that faith is. You can tell people that your faith is much more convincing, rational, secular, inclusive, progressive, scientific than others' faith. That freedom to convert people is also there. That if some religions want that, here one interesting thing, let me tell. At the time of independence, while certain political Muslim leaders were opposed to the idea of one sovereign, independent India combining both Hindus and Muslims, and Jinnah and the followers of Jinnah certainly wanted a Pakistan. The ulema of Deoband, which is the most powerful religious school of Muslims in India, Deoband, they did not want separation. And the reason was interesting. I was reading in quite an objective treatment of the subject. The reason is that according to Islam, it is their religious responsibility to convert the non-believers to the belief. It is their religious responsibility. It's not, if a Muslim, similarly a Christian, it's their religious responsibility. If a Christian or a Muslim is trying to convert a Hindu to their fold, in religious framework, it's not wrong. Actually, it is something to be promoted. It's like if you are an educated person and you see an uneducated person, a rural, poor, is it not your moral responsibility to educate that person? It is. So, in the same way in some religions, if they have seen the light, if they have seen the truth, and for them there is one specific truth, but that is the truth. If they have seen the truth, it is their moral and religious responsibility to show the same light to others, to tell others that you are wrong, your magical practices, your tribal beliefs, your beliefs in so many gods and goddesses, this is all humbug. Your rituals, your hierarchies, your mythological books are story books. There is only one Allah, and Muhammad is the last prophet. He is to be seen as the messenger of God, and your life must be lived according to the Holy Quran and their hadith or traditions. When they know this, that this is the supreme truth, it is their responsibility. Now, if there is a separate country of Muslims and a separate country of Hindus, then how will Muslims fulfill their religious responsibility of converting non-Muslims to Muslims fold? So, the religious ulema, the Deobandi school, not that Deobandi school was particularly patriotic, but there were religious reasons. If it is the religious responsibility of Muslims to convert others, then division of country on the basis of religion does not make any sense. And if you sympathetically look at what they said, it makes sense. It's like putting all the Muslims in a kind of prison where they have no opportunity at all to convert others to Islam. So, they were against. So, in our country, you have freedom to remain in your religion, you have the freedom to convert, and you also have the freedom to not believe in any religion. Everybody is free. Worship, freedom of worship, vocation, any vocation. And nobody can say that Santosh, you will not take up the job of an engineer or of a doctor or of defense. In defense, you will not go to defense forces, or you will not run a shop. You are free. You are free to do anything. We cannot even compel you to take up specific vocations or specific job after specialized training like BTech. Although the country is spending so much on you in making you an engineer or a scientist, but there is no force. Tomorrow you can decide to become model. You can become a film producer, a film artist, a painter. You can have your own shop. You can become an industrialist. You can become a religious preacher. We know of some BTech students who have become heads of religious institutions subsequently. ISKCON में, कैलकाटा में, हमारे यहाँ के IIT कानपुर के BTech are heading religious institutions. After doing graduation from IIT system, People are working as ministers, as story writers, as activists, as shopkeepers. They are running shop. If they have a shop at home and they are the only son of their parents, then some of them may like to sit at the shop. Several years ago, I went to Maston Road to buy an umbrella, and while buying umbrella, I just mentioned that I am from IIT Kanpur. Then the shopkeeper told me, "Arey sir, I also did my BTech from IIT Kanpur." Perhaps he gave me some concession because he was a student of IIT Kanpur. I was surprised that after doing BTech from IIT Kanpur long back, why is he running a shop? But maybe by running a shop in Maston Road, he is earning much more than a software engineer. He is a wholesale dealer in umbrellas, and he supplies umbrellas to whole of North India, or at least you. So you are free. We thought that we will be free to associate, form associations, free to take up action, voluntary action, developmental action, religious action, social action, subject to, but provided they do not conflict with the law and public morality. That is a condition, because sometimes there may be conflict. As a matter of fact, since state is a set of institutions, so there are conflicts within state also. Yeah? It's not that there are conflicts in civil society or people. That it's not so simple that people are fighting, and it is the state's responsibility to make them come to negotiation tables or to resolve their conflicts or maintain law and order. Within state also there are conflicts. So if state is a set of institutions, don't you find that sometimes parliamentarians think in one way, judiciary thinks in another way, bureaucrats and experts think in some third way, and armed forces in some other way. Now recent controversies of deals in purchase in defense forces, that shows that there is a conflict of interest between armed forces and bureaucrats and politicians. This morning I learned that High Court of Andhra Pradesh turned down a political decision of Government of India to reserve 4% jobs in OBC quota for Muslims. Because court thinks that according to Indian Constitution, there is no provision for reservation on the basis of religion. So there is a conflict. Judiciary is part of state, but judiciary thinks in one way. Politicians are part of state, they think in another way. Conflict between judiciary and parliamentarians are quite frequent these days. Conflicts between armed forces and politicians, bureaucrats and judiciary. That's why judiciary is acquiring the activist role. There is a new term, judicial activism, according to which judiciary has started developing new laws, rules, and started guiding and sometimes directing the state government, central government to take up certain actions in the field of health, education, nutrition, conflict resolution. So there are conflicts. And if there are conflicts, that only means that state becomes weaker. And I stop here by saying that long back, one Swedish economist, Gunnar Myrdal, who wrote his famous book, Asian Drama, in the Asian Drama, he used the term soft state for Indian state, precisely for this reason, that because of these internal conflicts, Indian state will not be able to implement